This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, where we discuss everything in the world of sports. I'm Ben.
I'm Alex.
And I haven't seen you in, I feel like, forever.
I was so confused. I got here yesterday, and I thought it was Monday. I was like, where's Ben?
Because you were off on Monday,
Yeah.
so we both were. But, yeah, I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah, I'm like, where's Ben, man?
You know, and I was thinking about it. It's like we only have 2 days together, Mondays and Wednesdays.
You're making me cry, Ben.
And this week it's only Wednesday. Because Friday you're gone, Tuesday, Thursday I'm gone. So this is the first time I've seen you in like a week.
Yeah.
The first time I'm going to see you in like 5 days.
Yeah, that's true. You got that dead right on the button.
Yeah, so I mean, I know yesterday wasn't too well for you, but every other day you've been okay?
Yeah, I've been good. I cracked my phone screen yesterday, and I had like a headache all day. And I got a new CD of one of my favorite bands. It came out last week, and I always get their physical CD also, and it's stuck in my CD player in my car.
You just had a bad 24 hours, haven't you, buddy?
Yeah, yesterday was lame.
Well, hopefully today will be better. You know, the sun will still come out tomorrow, you know, so got to look on the bright side.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm. And it is hot.
My phone's kind of brighter now because it sheds the light, you know? It sits in the cracks, and it's really weird.
I had a cracked phone one time, and it wasn't very fun.
No, thankfully
Just make sure you don't cut yourself.
Yeah, I have the life-proof case on it, which shouldn't have cracked in the first place. But, yeah, so I'm actually not touching the actual screen, so I can feel the cracks. I can hear it.
You can hear it.
It's like I have a broken bone, and I'm just moving my hand, and the bones are grinding.
And it makes you want to just grind, like, your teeth because it sucks.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, hopefully today will be better, and hopefully we'll have a good show to make you sort of feel a lot better about yourself and your phone. So we got a lot of great things to cover today. Going to be breaking down the new college football poll after week one. We have a lot of new teams in the top 25 after some of their results in week one, and a lot of maneuverability as well. Some teams really making some high jumps and some pretty low falls as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to be talking about Tim Tebow, or as Alex likes to call him.
I like to call him Tim Tebow.
There you go. And he might be actually playing ball because there is reports that a MLB team is interested in Tebow. We'll be talking about that in segment number 2. And we will be ending the show, as always, with our ever so popular What's Trending. Got a lot of great stories and topics on hand. Woo. All right, so let's jump right in to the AP Top 25 poll heading into week 2. So after week 1, what do you want to do? Preview top 10 and the notables, or
top 10 and the notables?
All right, let's go right into it. So number 1, we have Alabama. No real surprise there after their shellacking of USC on Saturday. We have Clemson in at number 2 after they are fresh off a victory over Auburn. We have Florida State moving up one spot to number 3. They were previous number 4 after they defeated Ole Miss on Monday. We have Ohio State coming in at 4. Michigan at 5. Houston, big jumpers, moving up to number 6. They have a 9 spots up, moving in at number 6. They were number 15 after their victory over then number 3 Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. We have Stanford moving in at 7. Followed by another Pac-12 school, Washington at 8. They jumped up 6 spots. Then we have Georgia at 9. They moved up 9 spots after their victory over North Carolina. And then rounding out the top 10, we have Wisconsin, who were not even ranked last week after they defeated then number 5 LSU in Lambeau Field.
Yeah, in Lambeau Field indeed. And notables, I guess you could say also, Texas is now ranked 11 after not being ranked whatsoever. Excuse me. Some notable falls would definitely be Oklahoma. Oklahoma went from 3 all the way down to 14, dropping 11 spots. You have Tennessee dropping from 9 to 17. Notre Dame did drop from 10 to 18. We have Texas A&M now ranked after not being ranked last week. And then arguably one of the biggest drops is LSU from 5 to 21.
Yeah, they looked really, really unimpressive on Saturday.
I know, I saw your tweets.
Yeah, like, as far as LSU goes, obviously Leonard Fournette, running back, in my opinion, he's definitely the best running back in college football. But quarterback Brandon Harris really didn't bring anything to the table with LSU.
They're very one-dimensional.
Extremely one-dimensional.
That's going to be their problem. Their defense isn't as good as people thought it would be, at least in the first game so far. It didn't show up like people thought it was a revamped defense. And as good as Leonard Fournette is, Brandon Harris doesn't bring anything different to the table. They stacked 9 in the box. And eventually, no matter how good a running back is, and get a defense that's going to stop him. You would think really with Harris, in his third year now with the program, he'd be a lot more improved. But also, I kind of have to blame sort of Les Miles and their coaching scheme. He only threw the ball 3 times in the first quarter. He didn't even have a completion until the second quarter. It's like they weren't even really giving him a shot to even prove anything early on. Yeah, he completed to 4 different receivers, one of them being Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, and he has great weapons on the outside. Think about some of the talent LSU has produced at wide receiver recently. You think of Jarvis Landry of the Dolphins, pretty successful. Yeah. Look at Odell Beckham of the Giants, one of the top receivers in football. Mm-hmm. I realize you can't compare the receivers now to those guys, but still they have good talents. It's just like they're really not even trying to throw the ball. And when they do, it's like Brandon Harris really doesn't seem to have any confidence, some momentum going his way, some quick, easy passes. Really, everything is just Fournette. Yeah, and of course, with a great player like that, you're going to feed him the ball, but you got to have a balance.
And he didn't even have running yards. He had negative running yards. I imagine he was sacked quite a bit. But if you're game planning for this team, you look at it and you're just okay. Stop the run.
Exactly.
It's disappointing. You have there in the tail end also Florida, and I'm going to start off Miami. Sorry, I was reading its quotations. Miami is now ranked. After not being ranked, now sneaking into the top 25 at number 25. No movement in the 23 to 24 spots with Baylor and Oregon. Did you watch any of that Oregon game?
No.
So on the Pac-12 network,
I know they played UC Davis.
Yeah, so in the beginning, UC Davis was holding their own, and then about 9 minutes went by in the game after holding their own, and it turned around. But UC Davis is a school near us, for those that were wondering why that was relevant. But so on the Pac-12 network, it was that game, UC Davis at Oregon, right? After it was the Washington State game. So I'm like, okay, starts at 5. I'm ready for it. That game, the Oregon game, started at 1. At 5, it was 10 minutes left in the third quarter.
So that game's moving pretty slow.
Yeah, we had to watch the first, half of the first quarter on Pac12network.com because and at that point, it wasn't like it was close. They're up by 20.
Switch over.
Yeah, switch over. They're up 20-something points. Switch over, man. Come on.
That kind of always happens. So.
Even with 8 minutes left, it was 40-something. It was whatever the final score ended up being, and they still didn't switch over. And I'm just sitting there like, man, let's go.
I know as a Cougs fan, you're disappointed in that.
Don't talk to me right now.
All right, but anyway, so what is some of your big takeaways of this poll? What's your biggest surprise? In my opinion, it's Wisconsin at 10. Mm-hmm. I think obviously a good win over LSU, but they only won 16-14, a game where their defense really dominated, and they showed me literally nothing on offense.
Yeah,
LSU had a pick 6. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's Wisconsin at 10, going from unranked to 10. To be honest, I feel like Wisconsin, once they get into their Big Ten schedule, once they face some of the elites like Ohio State, Michigan, maybe even Iowa, I'll throw them in too. Mm-hmm. I feel like before long, Wisconsin's going to be unranked. So it's like, why all of this sudden jump after one pretty solid win? I could see them getting ranked, but all the way up to 10.
I have the same relation with Texas. Yes, you beat Notre Dame. You beat them in double overtime. It was a very good game, but Notre Dame, you win those games every once in a while. You have a game like a lot of the games this weekend that were upsets. You have UCLA you're losing, so on and so forth. To these, you have these one games in which this happens. So, I understand that. I get it. You know what I mean? But jumping up all the way to 11 after being unranked, and when I assumed that Texas wasn't really near the rankings,
and they were Texas was at home in that game as well. So
Yeah.
I feel like maybe at a neutral stadium, I would have taken Notre Dame all day. You know, what I mean?
also don't see how UCLA could have fallen completely out of the the rankings in general and had like Miami jump in. Like I could have had UCLA at 25. I get they were 14 or 16 or whatever, but it's not like they lost a huge one, and it's not like they lost to a horrible school.
Yeah, they lose to Texas A&M on the road. A&M really one of the biggest home field advantages in college football. I know they're known as the 12th man, so I could definitely see that. I mean, UCLA did really struggle. Quarterback Josh Rosen really struggled in particular. He had 3 interceptions. A guy who is just a true sophomore, but a guy who was looked at as maybe taking that next jump, really being one of the better quarterbacks, at least in the Pac-12 this year. So, of course, maybe he will turn around. Who knows? It's only one game. But I could maybe see them falling out. I think with another win, maybe 2 in a row, they'll be right back in there. I think they're still going to compete in the Pac-12 with Stanford. I would put Stanford as my favorite, though. So
in the Pac-12,
yeah,
it's weird because say the West or the Pac-12 and their divisions, right? In the last 2 years have been really weird for me because say like I'm a Washington State fan, right? Washington State last year had a chance to go in first place in the division after starting the year the same way they lost to Portland State last year. Losing to Eastern Washington, he's a little bit better, but and the Pac-12 is just weird in that sense. You have teams like Oregon losing to Washington State and then beating, UCLA. I think they beat UCLA last year. So just the way they do it is really, really weird.
Yeah,
not do it, but the way they shape out. So I would still say Stanford is the favorite. I mean, they are the highest ranked Pac-12 team in the top 25, and rightfully so. I mean, they didn't look amazing in their first game, but they did look good. And Washington has looked better, this year for sure, and being ranked number 8. So
I was going to talk about Washington because they were my other surprise. Really, they jump up 6 spots from 14 to 8, and they only beat Rutgers. A Big East school, but definitely a team that's not really known. They beat them pretty handily, 48-13 as well.
I think it was a product of a lot of drop.
I agree.
Teams drop out, teams move up. And it was more so like how high will they move up?
I agree, but I could say Georgia's in at number 9. Yeah. Georgia did move up 9 spots, so they were at 18. But they defeated an ACC school in North Carolina who was ranked 22, and Georgia was 18 at the time. So they definitely beat a more worthy opponent. I feel like maybe they could have at least jumped to Georgia over Washington. I realize what the polls are in week 2 is kind of irrelevant because you still have 10, 11 games left to play. So obviously the season will play out. But I felt like you could have jumped Georgia ahead of Washington at least.
Excuse me. Yeah, I get what you mean. I thought definitely I agree with you on that. A team that maybe played a little bit more proven of an opponent. I mean, Rutgers hasn't been good in a long time, and they smoked them. They handled business. Georgia, level of competition and so on and so forth. I think they could have flip-flopped those two. It's not like they're 8. Washington's 8 when they should be like 12. Like I could see them being 9. But I agree with you. I get what you mean. I didn't necessarily think Houston would jump as high as they did. I kind of guessed them at maybe being at 9, But I get that they beat a stronger opponent and they were ranked, they were ranked 1 behind Washington, and they beat a better opponent and probably had a more impressive game and so on and so forth, So that was interesting. I thought maybe they could be behind Stanford. They could be 7 and Stanford could be 6. Little things like that, you know what I mean? But again, you're right. The SEC, I'm not the SEC, excuse me, the AP polls are kind of irrelevant week 2.
Right. I thought Houston jumped. I don't know. I'd say maybe where I really expected them because they did defeat.
It didn't surprise me. I know that, but I was like, oh, okay. I could have seen them like at 8 or 7. I don't know about 6, but I wasn't sitting there like, no, not 6. I wasn't surprised. I suppose. They've been pushing on this door for a while.
Yeah, they did defeat then number 3 Oklahoma. They beat them pretty handily. They beat them 33-23, but they were up by a lot more in the game. They really forced Oklahoma to turn the ball over a lot.
The score makes it seem close, but there was never a point where I was in doubt that Houston was going to win. Houston had the lead for the majority of the game, and that I think I was talking to Jeremiah about it on the football show yesterday. That 100-yard kick six. That was really that. And there's a fumble, and those are really the turning points in the game. That just any momentum you had, at least mentally. You're like, okay, well, they just ran a 109-yard, missed kickback. The next possession we have a fumble. Like, everything's going wrong kind of thing and mentally. And we're the number 3 team in the nation. This shouldn't be happening, so on and so forth. So, I mean, I think that game looked a lot closer than it was. I think they handled them, and I think that has to do with the 6th right there for me. They looked, they looked well-rounded in all 3 aspects of the game. So that was impressive in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd say for Houston, definitely moving up to 6 is a huge boost for them if they have any chance of even competing, trying to get into that college football playoff.
Yeah.
I think 2 things definitely have to happen. I think they have to win out, so I think they have to go undefeated. And then Oklahoma, they have to be Oklahoma supporters. Oklahoma suddenly has to win at least the Big 12, maybe drop at least, I'd say at the most, one more game. They do still have some tough games. Obviously, they have their schedule. They will play Ohio State after the next game. So they're going to have some tough games. But Houston, if you look at their schedule, the only team that's currently ranked on the remainder of their schedule is Louisville, and that's at 13. They obviously looked really impressive in their first game, but they played Charlotte, not really much of a competitor. So Houston not really playing the strength of schedule. Some of the other teams, in the American Athletic Conference, there's really not that many teams to worry about. So that's why they have to go out non-conference schedule these big boys like Oklahoma, which is great for them. I do think that's a good thing. But they have to try and win out now if they have any chance. And I still would sort of say it'd be tough for me to put them in over a team from a top 5 conference. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
they're going to have to win out, and they're going to have a team. Like, going into the season, I thought Florida State was ranked high for them. I thought they could have been a little lower. And then they were impressive, in Monday's game, not to say the least. And going from 4 to 3, but there were a team that going into the year, I was like, oh, okay, I could see them dropping out of the top 5, let alone the top 10. I didn't think they were going into the year that great. I still don't know how good they are. Monday was a really wacky game, but that remains to be seen if a team like them can follow. Because Ohio State looked dominant, of course. Level of competition. Hawaii's not really up on par with them. No offense to Hawaii. And then Michigan handled their competition, obviously. And there are 2 people looked at as favorites, going into this season. So somebody in there is going to have to lose for them to even sniff the top 5.
Right. I think it's going to be tough because,
obviously, but
I look at the winner of the Michigan-Ohio State game winning the Big Ten. And I think, obviously, the winner of the Big Ten is in. You got to have the SEC.
So,
the SEC winner is going to be in. Right now, I'd probably say Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
I picked LSU, but obviously with their loss,
I saw them dropping. Yeah,
with their loss on Wisconsin, obviously hurts their chances. But I think if they still win the SEC, if they beat Alabama, they're in.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens there.
I think Houston also is going to have to deal with the Pac-12 and Stanford. I think they're going to be on their heels the whole time. Stanford has a schedule tailored to them in the way they play. It's not as hard as it has been in past years. And yeah, whoever wins the Ohio State-Michigan game, Houston's going to have to keep winning, because if that happens and Houston just keeps winning, they can move into that spot and really be right on the cusp of making it. And we've seen before, you see, 1 through 4 isn't always the teams that make the playoffs.
Right, right. So, the way I see it is, I think the winner of the SEC is in. I think the winner of the Big Ten is in. I think the winner of the Clemson-Florida State game, which would be the ACC, I think they're in. So you have 3 teams there for sure.
For me, that's Bama, Clemson, and whoever wins the Big Ten. I haven't decided yet.
Right. So if those 3 teams are in, I think we both agree on that. So then you have Houston competing against really the Big 12 winner, the Pac-12 winner, and then maybe a team from one of those other conferences who maybe doesn't win the conference. Like, let's say Clemson goes undefeated and Florida State only has 1 loss to Clemson. Would you put them in over Houston? Or let's say the same thing with LSU and Alabama. Let's say LSU's only loss was to Wisconsin this week, and then they go out and beat Alabama, and they go out and win the SEC. Would you put Alabama in at only 1 loss ahead of Houston? You know what I mean? Those are the things that Houston's going to have to sort of deal with.
And it's going to happen. That's how it's going to be. I get what you mean. I mean, we've seen that before, too. So it's going to be interesting to see as we go on again, week 2. There's only so much you can really analyze with these, I'll be interested to see what the standings are more so next week. Now that there's 2 games under the belts, you have a lot. This is the week that, either you started the season off against weak opponents or week 2, Houston, I forget who at the school I've never heard of, I think.
Yeah, they're playing Lamar next.
Yeah, never heard of them. So you imagine they'll go 2-0, and then we'll see really who, how it shapes out in that aspect. I think it's going to be another week that a ranked team is going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. You see it every week, Think about some of the teams, in the top 10 alone. We had Wisconsin beat LSU. LSU was 5. We had Oklahoma lose at number 3. We had Tennessee at 9, barely squeak by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's possible. I mean, there was a lot of ranked versus ranked opponents this week, which is obviously great as a neutral fan. Mm-hmm. But, it's definitely, for some of these teams, losing week 1, I think there's definitely worst case scenarios. It's better to lose early as opposed to late. But still, a loss is a loss, So, like Notre Dame, I'd say you can basically throw their chance of getting in the playoff out the window. You know what I mean? Because they're not in a conference. They don't have a conference tournament, So they're kind of out of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, with that loss, I think they're going to have a real uphill battle, and that's going to be, probably what holds them out this year. They had a big year, but unfortunately, I don't think they're going to. I mean, even how close their game was, I think the way they got set back. I mean, we're talking how hard it will be for number 6 to get into the top 5 right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, it's. I mean, again, I'm interested to see what this looks like next Tuesday after the next ones come out. In the games and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
And we'll be here on Wednesday probably again to talk about them. But let's take our first break. We'll come back and we're going to talk some Tim Tebow news. Yes, Tim Tebow. Let's take our first break. We'll be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be, visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast, jumping in, talking about Tim Tebow with our next segment, making some news possibly about a team that might be interested in signing him. So the Atlanta Braves general manager John Coppolella confirmed the team's interest in Tim Tebow and said that the Braves themselves have had multiple conversations with Tebow's representatives about a step towards signing him to a professional baseball contract. Coppolella also said that potential of signing Tebow will be a low-risk investment and said that the Braves' interest is rooted in Tebow's promise on the field rather than his ability to sell tickets. Mm-hmm. So it seems like they're actually interested in Tim Tebow, the baseball player, as opposed to Tim Tebow, sort of the media darling. So thoughts?
I mean, I whatever. I mean, he says there's no risk. Quote, if it doesn't work, we'll be honest with Tim early and we'll move on. If it does work, it's great for Tim and the Braves, and it's great for baseball. I guess so. I mean, I don't know what level they're going to sign him to, Obviously, he's not going to just go play for the Braves right now. Whatever their Class A is, maybe, Double A. But I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to see. I mean, I haven't seen legitimate video of the guy to know how good he is, or at least to see how well he does. So I really have no idea how he, is going to play in any aspect. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I mean, it makes sense. It's not really a risk. Nothing really seems like it's gonna harm your team in that sense. So I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I think he had a good gig. Announcing football and doing all that stuff. But the rich get richer, I suppose.
So reportedly, it seems like there's even more teams that might have a possibility of being interested in Tebow. So a lot of teams reportedly after his workout, they met face-to-face with him. So the Colorado Rockies were also a team that are maybe reportedly an interesting...
He's used to Denver in that area.
I mean, how ironic would that be? That's what I was thinking, like, wow, he's already with Denver, mile high. Now Colorado, like... I mean, I think that may be more so along the lines of... Maybe if you're looking at trying to sell tickets, he's already familiar with the area. You know what I mean? So I think maybe with Colorado, maybe there's more so of that. Who knows? But, Tebow's representatives also would like him to sign a contract with the intentions and time to play in the instructional league and possibly in the Arizona Fall League this offseason before he joins a minor league affiliate next spring. He also did not rule out Tebow the possibility of playing winter ball this offseason to try and get at bats. So really for Tebow, I'd say anything you can get your hands on would be definitely a plus. You need to play. You need to get experience. So I think whatever happens, he will be playing somewhere. But as far as the Braves, I mean, it kind of makes sense. They're talking about Tim Tebow as the player, not necessarily as the media darling. But I'm sure they're thinking that as well. Look at the Braves, one of the worst teams in baseball. They can't sell any tickets. They're moving into a brand new ballpark next year. Maybe they just keep Tebow up there in chance and maybe hope to sell tickets. I mean, who knows? Look at Tebow right now.
Here's what waste a roster spot like that.
Here's what I found interesting, okay? And kind of ironic, is that Tebow during his workout, he's wearing navy blue and red. What are the Braves' colors?
Navy blue and red.
He's already looking like a Brave. You know what I mean? That's the first thing that came to my mind. It's like, okay, he already looks like a Braves prospect. You know what I mean? Like he's already wearing the colors.
Mm-hmm. Or he just likes America.
Well, I'm sure Tim Tebow was pretty patriotic, So, of course, he likes America as well. But I was like, wow, he's already wearing, Braves colors. You know what I mean? So, let's be honest here. How long do you think it'll be until he really gets a contract? I think someone's going to offer it. Obviously, the Rockies look interested. The Braves look interested. They're sort of making the headlines here. How long do you think it'll take until he gets a contract?
Well, it says if the team were to sign Tebow, it would likely be less than $100,000 with the goal of getting him valuable at-bats in the instructional league, like you were saying. Excuse me. People say they doubt he's even going to, be invited to spring training, but he could be sent eventually to, say if the Braves sign him to the AA Mississippi team. So I think definitely somebody signs him. Where and when that happens, I don't know. That'll be more interesting to find out. But I still think somebody signs him. I don't think he, it's not like again, people are like, oh, they do it for the publicity. The only publicity that's going to happen is whatever team Tebow goes to, not the organization. The Braves aren't going to get anything from this unless he's up on their roster, which is not going to happen anytime soon. That's going to be a year plus because this guy needs reps. You're not going to waste a roster spot, even a September call-up roster spot on the Tim Tebow.
Yeah, I think maybe you'll get a few questions, sort of like the Braves GM is getting now, but past that, obviously it won't be a distraction because he will be in a lower division, AAA, AA, single A, whatever. Yeah. So I think you're right there. But you know what, man? I would say, what do you have to lose if you're the Braves?
Yeah,
might as well just call him up, try and see him sell tickets.
No.
You have nothing to lose. You're in last place. You can't sell tickets. Just put him out there,
because
maybe for a weekend series.
The season's almost over already, Ben. It's September, man.
Okay, but here's what I'm saying. Say you have a weekend series coming up against the Cubs.
People don't want it, which watch him strike out.
A team that people are interested in Chicago Cubs. You might as well put Tebow out there for a weekend series. Get him some at bats. Have him come in as a pinch hitter. Something.
That's how you ruin someone's psyche right there.
I don't think Tebow really has a problem with that. He's always been really athletic, a competitor. I would say, what do you have to lose if you're the Braves? Literally nothing. I would do it.
I say just, if they're going to sign him and go send him to whatever instructional league he needs.
You can always do that at the start of next year.
Do it now. If he's not even getting the possibility of going to someone's spring training this year, don't bring him up to the MLB. He's not ready. He's not
ready.
He's been taking batting practice.
He's not ready. But what do you have to lose?
Batting practice and be like, yeah, I can hit some balls.
You know what I mean? He's not ready. What do you have to lose?
A lot.
Or at least, I would put him in spring training. You know what I mean?
Spring training, I'm not yes or no on, but I'm not bringing him up to the MLB.
Spring training, no one wants to go to. Think about this year. How many teams did Will Ferrell play for in spring training? 9 in one day?
That was last year.
Okay, but so it's literally a laughing joke.
Every team in the NL West and then the AL West, I think.
So it's literally a laughing joke.
It's not a joke.
Why can't Tebow be in the spring training?
It's not a joke. People watch spring training games like they watch the Lily World Series in an aspect. People like spring training for the most part, especially if you like the young prospect guys.
I guess so. I wouldn't have an issue with it.
I wouldn't have an issue with him being in the spring training. See what you have, but I'm not bringing him up to the MLB at any point.
But to my opinion, sort of end this year, it looks like definitely a team will sign Tebow. Yeah. I would say relatively sooner than later. Obviously, you want to strike while the iron's hot. George just had his workout. I'd say within the next week, maybe 2. I think Tebow will have a baseball home, honestly.
Yeah, they will start calling Tim Tebow the baseball player, not the football player. Or the former guy that was on the football team that sort of played football.
Okay, interesting take there, but
some people don't think he was much of a football player. I think in this Tim Tebow would have been the best football player on the planet in like the 60s. No, sorry, like the 50s.
Like
when
just
guys did
totally
everything
yoked and jacked up.
He could throw, but it wouldn't have to be that accurate, and it was like a flutterer, and he'd play H-back too.
He could just like outmuscle everybody.
He could be today's Paul Hornung.
Yeah, he could just totally outmuscle. And then back when they would play two-way, so he would definitely be a linebacker.
He was a two-way player. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Except he'd always be quarterback because
he's just past his glory days.
Yeah, he could.
Tim Tebow, you should have been here 45 years ago.
Yeah, you could have played with Gifford and Paul Hornung. Oh man, he missed.
Those would have been the days.
We would be talking about old man Tebow now. All right, let's take our last break. We'll come back, and Ben and I are going to do some What's Trending before we hit the road. Be right back at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast, jumping into What's Trending. So, Alex, I guess I will do the honors.
Yeah, go ahead,
today.
Ben.
So, obviously, the NFL season getting ready to kick off tomorrow with the Super Bowl rematch of the Broncos and the Panthers. I know you're excited. And then we have, as well, a full slate of games Sunday and a couple of Monday night games. So, with that being said, the NFL introduces Twitter hashtag emojis.
I can dig it.
Okay, these are obviously great. So they have one for each team. Here's my sort of problem with it. Okay, we have like a phrase for some of these teams. Like obviously, I'm a Packer fan. We have Go Pack Go.
Yeah, that's
Steelers. We have Here We Go.
Yeah.
We have Raider Nation. Tighten Up for the Titans. We have Keep Pounding for the Panthers. A lot of these great phrases. And then for some of these teams, we just have like hashtag Jaguars. Like, they're just totally left out.
Hashtag Jaguars.
Hashtag Chiefs. We have Dolphins. We have Fins Up. We have the Mob Squad for the LA Rams. Then we have hashtag Chargers. Like, totally, some of these teams are just totally their team name, and then there's phrases. Like, there's like nothing for any of these teams. Like,
I feel like there is, and they just don't know.
For the Chargers, like, how can they do hashtag Bolts or something? You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be something catchy that they have.
Yeah, hashtag, like, voltage.
Something.
I think high voltage. They could have done that. That's their thing, isn't it?
I don't know. There's got to be something like hashtag Broncos. Like, you couldn't find something better for them? How about like Orange Crush or something? I don't know, something.
Yeah, they could have done Orange Crush.
Like, you know what I mean?
They could hashtag Super Bowl champ.
But obviously, it's obviously great you have the hashtag and they don't have the logo. So I'm sure NFL Sundays you'll see tweets everywhere with these hashtags. I mean, I guess I will be using them as well. So
yeah,
might as well.
I mean, I'm going to use maybe like a couple of them, like I'm going to use at least 2 of them, I would say.
There you go.
Boom. I mean, I'm probably realistically only one hashtag, but I'll use it more than once. Okay, moving on to my first one. So, the Eagles were giving a press conference today, earlier in the day.
Okay.
And Doug Peterson's talking to the press and everything, and the fire alarm starts going off. And everybody's like, okay, well, I guess we got to get out of here. And he starts joking, goes, oh, yeah, well, I actually have a button on this thing that, when I don't want to talk to you guys anymore, I just press it and the fire alarm goes off. And then all you run out, and I smile and laugh and go back to what I was doing.
That's quite good banter by Peterson.
Doug Peterson's a weird guy.
That was funny.
Doug Peterson's a unique fella, but you can't knock him for not being funny, Ben.
That's pretty good banter, I must say.
Thanks. I liked it, too.
All right, Alex. So moving on to my next story. We have the number 1 overall basketball recruit in the class of 2017. He has picked a college. So we have, obviously, the number 1 player. He's a 7-foot center. His name is DeAndre Ayton. He's from the Bahamas, but he moved to Southern California, when he was in middle school.
Warm to warmer.
Pretty much. So, and then he's even going to go even warmer than that because he has decided to commit to the University of Arizona. So he said, it's close to home, and I really built a great relationship with Coach Sean Miller. It's important for me, for my mom to see me play and to be close to her. So
that's
obviously
awesome.
A good guy, good young man. He's gonna be moving into one of the best college basketball programs, at least on the West Coast. They have a good relationship, a good sort of repertoire of building great big mans. Look at Aaron Gordon of the Orlando Magic. He went to Arizona. Like Caleb Tarczewski, he was a good big man for Arizona as well.
Good name.
Yeah, good name. So now we have DeAndre Ayton going to Arizona, the number 1 overall player in the class of 2017.
Okay. So, obviously, as the season is getting started here in the NFL, we have, the bets being put down now on teams to win the Super Bowl and so on and so forth.
Okay.
In Las Vegas, at the MGM Grand sports books, where you can, I'm sure many places you can bet on the NFL season, nearly 1,000 people have bet on the Cleveland Browns to win Super Bowl 51 this year.
Is that like a high number? I would assume that'd be a pretty low number.
That's more than normal. Caesars Palace has accepted about 750 on the Browns. The ticket count for the Cleveland and sports book operators, the technology is approaching 500 and includes a $1,000 bet at 175 to 1 and a $500 bet at $200 to 1.
So what's their odds? 200 to 1, 175 to 1?
There's multiple bets depending on the money that you bet. There's multiple odds, but they're one of the lowest, if not the lowest odds, or highest odds, whatever way you say it, but they're probably the least likely to win the Super Bowl, I think, when the odds came out. So MGM assistant said city of champions, right? We have the Cavs and the Indians are good. Why not the Browns? So
interesting. So I mean,
yeah.
I would say I wouldn't give them the least chance to win the Super Bowl. I'd say, and just off the top of my head, I'd say definitely the Niners. I think the Browns would look a lot better than the Niners. But I mean, Leicester City won the Premier League last year at 5,000 to 1. Anything's possible.
It would be like that. Well, the Browns, on the other hand, they opened this year at 201 to win the Super Bowl. No other team was worse than 60 to 1, so they are the worst.
That interesting. Okay.
They have attracted more bets than the Falcons, the Miami Dolphins, the Saints, the Eagles, and almost as many as current division reigning champion Washington Redskins. They have had nearly twice as many bets as the Tennessee Titans, the team with the fewest bets to win it all.
I mean, I guess it's kind of
they almost won it all, but they didn't.
I guess it's kind of a joke in my eyes. I guess.
Yeah, one guy
sort of what you just went with, like City of Champions. So
one guy put $5 on it. I don't know what the odds would be if you won it, but he said.
So at 200 to 1, he would at $5 he'd win $1,000.
There you go. He said it was made strictly as a joke. I just wanted to place a ticket on my wall in my room in my basement. I've been a season ticket holder for 14 years, and I know the Browns are going to be horrible again this year.
I mean, at least he has some sort of pride in his team.
Yeah.
I remember reading a story last year during the Premier League season with Leicester City. Like, as I mentioned, they were 5,000 to 1 odds to win.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, before the season, obviously a big fan, he had made a $100 bid on them to win the Premier League. So a £100 bid. And sort of as they were sort of winding down, maybe 10, 12 games left, they were still currently top of the table. And I'm not sure where he had bet it to. I don't know if it was like an online organization or, something like a casino or whatever. But they actually contacted him to try and buy out the ticket.
Huh.
And he went for it. So I think he took like £59,000 to sort of basically sell the ticket. And obviously they won the league, so he would have made a lot more. But he sort of came up with something as opposed to nothing.
Yeah, he didn't just.
So when I read that, I was like, "Oh, you just cursed them, dude." You know what I mean? Like, what did you just do? But obviously they still won the title. So, but that's what I was thinking. Like, oh, you can't do that. You're gonna like curse them, But nevertheless, they still were the Premier League champs. So. All right, so my last trending story is that Steven Strasburg, the Nationals pitcher, has been activated off the disabled list. He's been on the disabled list since August 22nd with right elbow soreness, and he will actually pitch tonight against the Atlanta Braves as they sort of look to build towards the postseason. So Strasburg comes in at 15-4 with an ERA of 3.59. Really, while he's gone, Max Scherzer is really dominated. I'd say he's probably the NL Cy Young favorite as it stands.
I would say right now.
Yeah, he's 16-7.
There's a lot up there, but yeah.
He's 16-7 with the ERA of 2.88. So obviously for Strasburg to come back is a huge addition for the Nationals. They're still currently first in the NL East, and really, in my opinion, probably the second best team in the NL behind the Cubs.
Yeah. I mean, they're up there right now for sure. They've been on a really hot streak, so I agree with you on that. It's going to be an interesting last rundown to the the final day of the season, and they're just getting stronger.
Absolutely.
All right, I have my last bit of news. It has come out this week that former now fullback, tight end, kind of H-back for the San Francisco 49ers, Bruce Miller, was released for allegedly punching a 70-year-old man hotel guest in San Francisco. Well, what didn't come out, though, until I heard about it today. Well, I heard about it technically yesterday, but I heard about the place today. So Bruce Miller, hours before, apparently allegedly punching 70-year-old hotel guest in San Francisco, the player was fighting with a customer at a popular bar and restaurant over a sandwich. So the reason I mention this is because Tommy's Joint is the restaurant. I've been there. It's really, really good food. Tommy's Joint manager, Eddie Martin, said that Miller came in at about midnight on Monday, hungry and without money. Stop right there. No money. You're an NFL player. What, do you not have your wallet on you?
Yeah, he just got released, so he was still making. It's not like he's been
he got released
retired
because of this,
right? But it's
before.
not like he's been retired.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
so
he's still under contract. So maybe I don't know. Maybe he just left a wallet or something.
Yeah, like where's your money? And according to what his staff told him, Miller then got into some sort of altercation with a customer and tried grabbing his sandwich away. Miller was so drunk, quote, he was almost unable to stand, and an employee had to escort Miller out of the restaurant located at Geary and Van Ness Boulevard, and some customers recognized him as an NFL player. I would probably recognize him because I know what he looks like. But then about 2:45 a.m. is when he went back to, I guess he was staying in a hotel or tried to get into a hotel room that wasn't his, and then got into the altercation in which he was arrested for. So, yeah, man, started off with fighting for a sandwich, American way.
Yeah, well, I think he's probably
give
done.
Me that sandwich.
He's definitely done in the NFL. It seemed like the Niners really had all these head case guys. Look at Aldon Smith.
Well, apparently this guy wasn't bad. Apparently, like Torrey Smith thought Bruce. I was listening to him on the KNBR, which is a station out here. It's the Bay Area sports station on the way to work today, and apparently, like, he's not a bad guy. It's just he said alcohol just kind of does that to you sometimes, and you have to be an adult. You have to be you're a grown man. You have to know better. He said, but apparently he's never, had problems like this before. So I mean, we've seen a whole lot worse get a better, another chance in the NFL. So who knows how it's going to shape out? I thought he was a good player, So who knows how it'll shape out? We've seen guys like Greg Hardy get a second chance, and rumors of Ray Rice possibly ever getting a second chance, things like that. It remains to be seen if something like this would garner a second chance. But yeah, I know what you mean. He's done with the Niners, obviously, so that's a fact.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, Ben and I are going to get out of here today. He will be back on Friday. I will be back tomorrow. In the meantime, you can find us on gsmcpodcast.com as well as on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play, not to mention YouTube at the GSMC Sports Podcast. And you can find us at Twitter and Instagram at GSMC_sports. I'd like to thank you for listening. As always, I'm Alex.
I'm Ben.
And I will see you tomorrow. Ben will be back on Friday. You cats, keep it cool.